And that's my cue to start the show. Welcome to another edition of the Hard Rock and Sports Show, live from High Top Hard Rock and Sports Studios in beautiful scenic Monroe, New Jersey. We are your 2-hour weekly get-together. We bring you all the biggest news from around the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, across the wide world of sports. And guys, welcome to Thursday night, June the 12th in the year of our good Lord 2025, and a beautiful summer-like day here in New Jersey. And I hope you guys have had a great week. We got a lot going on, but not a lot to talk about. I got to be honest with you. If you haven't followed the Hot Rocket Sports Show for the last 10 plus years, we are a football-based show. That's just the way it is. You know, Jeff follows a lot of football, keeps up with a little bit of sports. So it kind of, you know, and I got to be honest, you know, baseball's not interesting at this point in the year. You know, you got some hockey playoffs. There's not a lot of music stuff. We've learned over the last few years in the music world that there just ain't that much to talk about. So we're getting to that point in the year where we are going to struggle with things to talk about. That's just the way it is. I got 4 or 5 things. We'll turn it into something. We might do some social stuff tonight, and we may end the show early. I don't know. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad we're here. And I'm glad we're going to do a show because we've been doing this for 10 plus years. And, you know, I wouldn't know what to do with myself on Thursday night if I wasn't locking myself in a room someplace, staring out a window with Fox News in the background and you guys on the other side of the mic. So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we look forward to getting through the next month. Now, again, I've been toying with some ideas of shutting the show down for a few weeks. We may do that around the 4th of July and Jeff's birthday. We may take a break a little bit here. I don't know. We'll see this year. I'm going to be away a little bit, so we'll see. But right now we have a show tonight. We'll do what we can to get through it. We'll talk a little Rangers hockey. We'll talk a little NHL playoffs, Mets, Yankees, a little football, Triumph a lot of Triumph lately, which is always cool. I think Triumph, one of the most underrated bands of all time. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys passes away, 82 years young. I've never been a big fan of the surfing beach crowd rock music. I am more of a fan of the Beach Boys Christmas music. They have a couple of Christmas tunes that are just fantastic. So, we'll talk a little Brian Wilson. We'll get through the show. I do want to take a minute. I'm always perplexed. You know, if somebody could warn me, and I could get my brother and his family out of California, I would be happy if somebody found a way to separate California from the United States and float it out to sea. Because I have to tell you, for a state that is so beautiful, so big, to have it's the worst run state in the world, yet people vote for the same bullshit. Now, we go through it here a little bit in New York and New Jersey with our politicians. But when you see what's going on out there, and I'm sorry, guys, I really don't care. You don't want to listen, turn it off, shut it off, go home, whatever you want to do. I don't care. But this is my 5 seconds of time that I get to say what I want to say. And I'm going to say it. I'm listening to this Gavin Newsom character, and I got eyes. I watch the news every day. I watch a little CNN. I watch a lot of Fox. I watch a little regular news. I read the paper. I'm a pretty well-rounded individual. Yes, I will pat myself on the back. I pay attention. I know what's going around me in the community. I know what's going around with politics. You know, I know they're in the middle of the big, beautiful bill, getting that passed, which will keep our tax situation the way it is. I know when you're lying to me and you're not. And I listen to Gavin Newsom, and even today, if you guys pay attention to this, Alex Padilla, the senator who bum rushed Kristi Noem, the DHS secretary, and wanted to interrupt her press conference, and then you listen to Gavin Newsom and if they can arrest a senator. Well, if you're a U.S. senator and you break into a news conference and you rush the stage and nobody knows who you are, even if you're yelling out, "I'm a senator," I can yell out, "I'm a senator." Maybe Jeff's the senator from New York. But if you're that dumb as the Democrats are, the Democrats, I'm sorry, folks. If you are a Democrat, and you like what they do, you are dumb. I'm sorry. Now, I'm not saying if you're an independent and you vote Democrat, you're dumb. I'm just saying is if you actually watch the news and you see what these morons are doing in California and some of in New York, they're actually protesting removing criminals from the United States. Now, you listen to them. Oh, they're going into kitchens and nail salons. No, right now they're going in to look for these criminals. But if they happen to pop into a place and they're illegal immigrants who are in the same area as a criminal illegal immigrant, you're going home too. And rightfully so. I will tell you flat out. You can argue with me. You can complain. If you're here illegally, if your first act as I want to be an American citizen was to break into this country illegally, you need to go home to whoever it is. And I wouldn't even put you in jail. I think it's more punishment to send you back to where you came from. That's my opinion. So I'm fed up with the Democrats and the liberals. I got a buddy, and I love him to death, who is just completely insane. And this Trump derangement syndrome, get over it, guys. Pay attention to the acts and not the bullshit. I'm serious. And if you don't like what I'm saying, shut off the radio, shut off your computer, go someplace else, and I really could care less. Because if you don't want to hear what I got to say, that's your problem. That's your business. I'm breaking it down for you the right way. And I'm telling you that I'm not telling you that everything that the U.S. government, this one or any other one does is perfect. It's not. It's not even close. But I will tell you that this is the most transparent administration I've ever seen. They tell you everything they're doing, why they're doing it. You may not like it, but at least they're not hiding some meat bag puppet and pretending he's president. If you're a Democrat, after the last 4 years, you should shut up and sit on the sidelines and go, all right, I lied to you. I lied to you. I told you that there was a guy in the office who knew what he was doing. There was a 7 or 8 people probably who ran this country, and we have no idea who they were. They weren't elected. The meat puppet was. So I get it. I get it that you don't like Trump. He's braggadocious. He's narcissistic. So is every president. He's just the only one to let you know he is. You don't think that John Kennedy was a moron and an asshole? You don't think Bill Clinton was the nicest guy in the world? The guy who was out banging everybody in the world in the Oval Office. And people revere him. So please stop with the Trump's an asshole. Yeah, so what? They're all assholes. You don't get to be that person in charge of the entire United States, the most important, the most powerful man in the world, and think that you're not an asshole. You are. You have been elected. You ran for a position that 99 out of 100 people could not even fathom being. So I am tired of the Democrats. I personally will never vote Democrat again. So all I'm telling you is if you're paying attention and you think that the Democrats are on the right side of this issue, if you think that, ICE going in and taking people out of his community who is illegal, people are complaining that they're only supposed to go after criminals. To me, if you came into this country and you got wet, or you ripped your pants climbing over a wall or a fence, or you snuck across some line, you got to go. I don't care what you do and how you do it. You got to go. And I'm fed up with it. And, for all those people complaining that this Saturday, the United States is going to celebrate 250 years of the U.S. Army by having a parade, That is their anniversary. The birthday of the U.S. Army is June 14th. It happens to be President Trump's birthday, and all these morons, he's supposed to parade for his birthday. We're celebrating the U.S. Army, the greatest fighting force this planet has ever seen. So I'm sorry to keep going on about this, and I really don't care, because this is my time, and this is show that me and my buddy do, that I happened to found 14 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry, 10 years ago. Sorry, we're going on 11. Take 2014. So I don't care. If you don't like it, tough luck. And I will tell you, just do your homework to look out and see these morons breaking sidewalks up to throw bricks at cops because they want to keep illegal criminals in this country. And I don't care if they're, you know what? And I'll rephrase that. I could care less if they get illegal criminals or illegal migrants out of this country. I don't care. I don't care. You're here illegally. You came into this country and the first thing you did was break the law. And if you don't think you broke the law, tough shit. So this Alex Padilla guy from California who put on this big show today, and now you got Chuck Schumer, that moron, and Gavin Newsom. You know, if you live in California and you vote Democrat, you deserve everything you get. I think they should put a big fence around California and keep everybody there. Because you know something? California, in the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, has lost 1.5 million people have left California. For where? Texas, Florida, Tennessee. Oh, yeah, by the way, red states. Because why? We pay attention. We pay attention. I can't wait for Phil Murphy to be out of Jersey. Tell me anything Phil Murphy's done that's been good for the state. Phil Murphy's a moron in New York. Kathy Hochul in New York is a moron. Kathy Hochul is a moron. So is Phil Murphy. So, guys, God bless you. If you are a friend of mine and you don't like it, sorry. Do what you got to do. But I'm telling you, for a guy who I listen all day to news, I've stopped listening to music. I listen to the news. I want to know what's happening. I want to know the truth. And you know the truth by listening to different versions. You get to hear all different sides. I'm not saying you got to be stupid like me and be completely immersed in this, but pay attention. Don't listen to just one source. Read a newspaper once in a while. Watch a different channel once in a while and hear what somebody else is saying and form an opinion. But anybody who votes for these Democrats, whatever. Yeah, Billy, I don't get it. If you're a rational, normal, everyday person and you look at what these Democrats do and the things they say, I mean, I watch Gavin Newsom's press conferences and I go, what is he watching? Why would you let your city burn? Why would you let these cops have bricks and concrete thrown at them? It's insane. Then I listened to this thing today with Tim Walz and the mayor of Chicago and the moron Pritzker and Hochul. And you listen to them, and they can't even tell the truth. Kathy Hochul can't even get a sentence out because her teeth are too big for her face. It's ridiculous. I could never, ever pull the trigger in the voting booth, go in and push a lever for a Democrat. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I don't care what you tell me. I could not do it. It'll take generations for me to ever think about it again. I voted for Clinton. I voted for Gore. I voted against Judge Bush Jr. twice because I didn't like his policies. I am not by birth a Republican. I am now. I was an independent leaning conservative. Today, I am a Republican because I'll never vote for these morons. Any party that's got AOC and Jasmine Crockett as their leading people, good luck with that. We just need more Democrats like Fetterman from Pennsylvania. The guy's a little out there, but he's reasonable. Anyway, sorry, guys. I got to go on a rant. I got to fill time tonight, to be honest with you. So 7:15, I'm going to get Jeff on, and then we'll get my pops on, and we'll do whatever we got. Hey, remember this Saturday night, go see Billy Graz and his Van Halen tribute band along with Tony Gunn this Saturday night. We'll get more details on that and give it out to you before the show's over, but make sure you check them out. They're fantastic. Line them up. Hold on for sure. Jeff. Jeff disappeared. I don't know where he went. He's back now. Let's get him on. That's my buddy, my pal, my friend, good man, Jeff Talwinski. What's up, Hefe?
No, I don't know what happened. I was sitting here waiting for you to finish, and the next thing I know,
yeah, you were gone. I said, maybe Jeff voted Democrat. You don't want to hear what I got to say.
No, I didn't even get a chance to do that.
What's up, my man? How was your week?
No, I see you got a haircut.
I get one every 2 weeks, 3 weeks from my wife. So yes. Here we go. What do you got to say now?
No.
Okay,
it looks nice.
Thank you very much. And my wife has been cutting my hair since COVID.
Yeah,
she would never cut my hair.
Listen, the way that it's cut, it don't look like it's too bad. It's short on the sides and a little longer on top. As long as it's even, what's the difference?
Exactly. That's the way we were. That's way
like last week, the score wasn't even, and
you ended up getting
international ass kicking last Thursday.
So just so everybody knows, I must have kicked Jeff's ass about 4 or 5 straight.
Hold on, wait, before you go any further. And you scored 2 touchdowns in garbage time.
Oh God, here we go. So listen, let me clarify for everybody. So Jeff and I try to at least once a week get together and online we play Madden. So for the last month and a half, whatever it is, I've resoundingly kicked his ass with different teams. Last week, he was giving me grief, so I chose a different team.
I gave you grief. What grief did I give you?
So I took the Cincinnati Bengals, which is not my squad. I was resoundingly kicking his ass with teams like the Buffalo Bills, the Giants, the Detroit Lions.
You never beat me with the Giants once. You stopped using the Giants. You're like, they don't even have
I beat you with Drew Lock at quarterback. I can go back to the text messages. But anyway.
I know. Drew Lock. That's why you stopped using him.
So anyway, last week I lost a game to Jeff because I played very badly. I threw some bad interceptions. I mismanaged the clock. And Jeff hung on by dear life and beat me. So he's had the ability to crow owing, which is fine, folks. I'm okay with it. You know what? Sometimes you got to let the retarded kid drive the bus because otherwise they won't get on. So you got to let the retarded kid sometimes drive the car. You let him sit in the seat. You sit behind him and you steer the wheel on the bottom, but he's got the hands on top. So you let him do it because it makes him feel good.
Lost by 11 points.
Yeah, and I threw 2 picks in the red zone. Had the ball on the goal line twice with time running out. And I mismanaged it. I'm the first to admit I screwed it up. You beat me. I lost the game. You didn't win. That's the way I look at it.
A win is a win.
That's it. I
by 11 points is better than a win by 10 points.
100%. So we'll surely, hopefully, at the end of this tonight, if life is good, we will play another game, and you can have your chance to end onto your streak or return to your normal losing ways.
I have went and pounded you about 3 or 4 games in a row using the Jets.
3 or 4 games in a row.
when you played in person at my house,
you
came the day that we were supposed to play. I think it was December 30th. I beat you.
Very true.
Then when Paul came on the night,
you also beat me. Yes,
I beat you then.
Yes.
Then I think I beat you a 3rd time.
You did.
So that was 3 times in person.
And then from that point on, I have soundly kicked your ass, including beating you on the final play of the game with a miraculous touchdown to beat you. So let's be honest. I've taken control of the series. I've let you dictate. You can pick all your teams. I don't care less. It just comes down to
what are you babbling?
I'm not babbling.
I'm
just telling you.
You got so tired of getting your ass kicked. You had to turn around and I can't use the Giants no more. I'm not playing with Drew
Lock. It's not fair that as the Giants, I'm stuck using Drew Lock. If I could be the Giants and have Daniel Jones as my quarterback, I would be happy with that. When I play my regular season, I have Daniel Jones as my New York Giants quarterback, and I win. I've already won 1 Super Bowl, and I'm headed toward another. But
I want nothing more
than
to have your ass next to me while I'm using my New York Jets team. My New York Jets team. Okay. Justin Fields just threw for over 5,000 yards. Brees just ran for over 3,000 yards.
Which will take him 3 seasons to get 5,000 yards as a real New York Jet. But that's
I'm only using who I got in the game.
I got you. So we will handle that. But right now, I will let you have your due. You won. There's no way around it. I mismanaged my team. I screwed it up.
You call it mismanagement, but you know what it was, right?
I have no idea how that it was mismanaged.
It's just lack of skill.
I threw 2 picks in the red zone. I mismanaged the clock twice in the red zone, and I only lost by 11 points. So think about it. All I had to do was come up with 2 out of those 4, and I win the game easily.
Yeah, but you're failing to understand, and you're failing to tell everybody how not only did you lose by 11 points, you also scored a touchdown in garbage time. So it was more like 18 points. And I think there was a second touchdown that you scored like
no such thing as garbage time. There's no such thing. It was all just clock right out.
You were buried as it was. You were avalanched under the stress and everything else.
I mismanaged the game. And as a coach, I'm embarrassed by it. As a guy who considers himself a savant of football knowledge.
You're a fucking savant, all right.
Yeah, I'm a savant of
there's no guarantee
coaching. As that guy, I should have did a better job. And I didn't.
So now back to my original question, how we got here in the first place.
Go ahead.
Your wife cut your hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you happen to know what it looks like? Do you look in the mirror to see what it looks like?
Every day. Sure.
What do you wear, like a welder's shield or something?
No, I happen to like. I like at this point in my life, I like it short on the sides, a little bit of length on the top, and I'm happy if I wake up one day and it's kind of all over the place. We throw a hat on the top and we walk out the door.
I totally agree.
It's all fine. My wife likes it.
It's not about the length. It's about the embarrassment of being able to face yourself every morning, knowing that you got your ass kicked by like
every morning. I wake up and I look at that guy in the mirror and I wink and I go, "You're a good guy." That's what I can say.
You suck at Madden, bro.
That's it. You're right. But so there's at least 1, maybe 2 other friends of ours who are ready to purchase a PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I hope one does soon, man.
I was with Frank Jeffrey last Friday. We went to lunch together, and I know he was contemplating buying a PlayStation 5. So if we could get 4, 5, 6 guys, we could actually set ourselves up on a league night, maybe a Sunday night or a weeknight when everybody's free, and all join in, have the little party, play a few games, and turn this into a little bit of a league, which I think would be really cool.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yep. So for now, I'll just take the fun of kicking the crap out of you 6 out of 10 times and being happy with it.
Well, 6 out of 10 times means that you lost 4.
But I still won 6.
Doesn't matter.
One
game you cheated it.
The best teams in the league don't win 10 out of 10. You figure every once in a while you show up, you're a little off your game, you pick the wrong team to play. I think at some point it's going to be I pick your team, you pick my team, and that's how we do it. So that way you don't practice. Because to be honest with you, during the week I play a lot of hockey, a lot of home run derby.
Matter of fact, it tells you what you play.
Sure, I could turn when I clock in the middle of the night. I see Jeff was online playing X. So I know what you're doing.
Yeah, playing hockey most of the time.
I see you practicing. I got you. It's all right.
Practicing. I'm in the playoffs right now. So I do my playoff game, and then I go play like 2 or 3 games of hockey.
All right. Just for the record, my New York Ranger team is 61-1. I've got Patrick Kane scored 98 goals so far. I'm cruising to 100 goals.
Yeah, that sounds like rookie level.
I am unbeatable in that game, but that's okay. Well, that's for another day. We got to get the show started. We got almost nothing to talk about, but I'm sure we'll fill to another hour and a half and see where it goes from here. But so Jeff, let's start the show off the way we always do, and we get through all your bullshit. Jeff, how was your week?
Tom, since last Thursday night, it's been great.
Yes, I'm sure it has been. I'm sure it has been. You got a gig this weekend? Is this the Trotters weekend?
Not this weekend. Next weekend.
Next weekend.
No, okay. The 21st.
All right. We know we got Billy Graz and Line 'Em Up and Tony Gunn. They're out this weekend at Jennifer the Rock House. Okay, yeah. So make sure you guys are available and hanging out. Take a ride over and listen to some great VH tribute. Great guys, beyond great musicians and everything else, just great people. So if you get a chance Saturday night, go out to the Rock House and do yourself a favor and check out Billy and Tony and the band. I don't know who else is in the band at this point. There's been a lot of lineup changes over the years.
Yeah.
Those two are the steady guys.
I don't think you would know. Yeah. I don't know the drummer and the bass player. I know his name is Brandon. He's a good guy.
But if you want a pretty good tribute to Tony, everybody knows who. Everybody knows Tony is. He will play you Eddie stuff to a T, and Billy does an amazing job singing and transforming into. I don't think he does the kicks and the karate stuff, Jeff. Do you? I
don't think he can.
But
I might be able to. I don't know.
He might, but he sounds like a much better version of David Lee. So you get a chance this Saturday night, go out and check those guys out. And on the 21st, get out down to the Trotters, correct? It's at the Trotters?
Yeah.
Yep. Middle-aged delinquents, Jeff and the band. I got to see them a couple weeks ago. They do a great job. A very eclectic set. You get a little bit of everything in their set, which is, I guess, what you're going for, right, Jeff? A little bit of everything, a little metal, you get a little grunge, you get a little rock.
That's we're trying to do a little bit of everything, and which is the
right thing to do, because you know what? If you go in and playing all metal, you're playing to 3 people and a bunch of bottles. But if you kind of incorporate a lot of things, you're going to keep the ladies around, you keep the ladies around, you keep the guys around, and but it was a good set, and you guys need to get out and check them out next Saturday. We'll give you more information next week. In the meantime, let's get my dad on. He's been hanging a while, and then we'll come back. We'll do some Aaron Rodgers. We'll do some Mets and Yankees. I got Triumph stuff. What else? I got some Knicks. And my question is going to be, is Aaron Judge, or how far is Aaron Judge from being on the Mount Rushmore of Yankee greats? Now, I get it. Until he wins some championship, he's going to come up short. But if you just take Aaron Judge's numbers, if you take his numbers and lay it out, I mean, it's June, almost July. Oh, mid-June. Let's not put it almost July. The guy's still batting 396, 397. I mean, he is by far the best player in baseball. Has been for a long time. And I got to tell you, Jeff, it ain't going to be too far into the future that we're having that conversation that he's on the Mount Rushmore Yankees.
I don't know. First, Frank Catalano, no, that wall was not always green. As you can see, there's parts of the wall that have not.
Yeah, we see that a little top of that.
I just did the cutouts, but by next week at this time, it will be green. Tom, you know what? I have a hard time with that.
Why?
He may be having a great season now, but he hasn't delivered. Thank you, Frank. And you want to be on the greatest Yankee list, you need to do something. You need to stand out. I need you to think of some of the people that have been on the Yankees. Okay, you're talking about Derek Jeter, Andy Pettitte, all the championships they won, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Bill Dickey, the Babe, Lou Gehrig. The list can just go on and on and on of some of the players that have been on the Yankees over the years and their accomplishments. What has Aaron Judge done to be considered amongst the greats? You can have the greatest season from April till the end of September, beginning of October, but if you're not winning games in October and November, that's Yankee law, bro.
I agree with you. The only thing I give Judge at this moment is that here's a guy every year hitting 330, 340, 350, currently at 390s. And most of the league, I mean, people say Soto's the best hitter in baseball. He's batting 230. People people are pointing to guys hitting 240 and 250, and they're giving them multi-year deals for multi-million dollars. So all I'm saying is for Judge is he's doing things that nobody today does. It's kind of like the Babe Ruth days, Jeff, when teams were hitting 40 and 50 homers as a team, and Babe's hitting 60 for the season. You know what I mean? So that's why I say he's starting to get – now, I'm not saying he's there yet. And yes, he absolutely positively needs at least one, probably needs multiple championships to start cruising into the Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, to me, Yogi Berra land.
Not only does he need one, okay, because that's just to start.
Yeah.
Every person that you just mentioned won multiples.
Correct.
In several years in a row.
Correct.
All right. So not only does he needs to break his cherry and get the first one. Then after he gets the first one, he needs the second one and the third one and maybe the fourth one.
It's a different time. Don't forget, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, even Mantle, they only had to win the regular season and then win the World Series. Now you're winning 3 rounds of playoffs to get to that point. Not mention if you're a wild card team and you got to play that additional round. So it's I don't think you need to win 3, 4, 5, but you got to win at least one.
He doesn't have to do 5. And you know what?
2?
I'm going to tell you right now, he's got to do 3. He has to do 3. If you want to be considered one of the greatest Yankees of all time, you have to do 3. If not, all you are is a white Dave Winfield.
Well, let me ask you this question. If he winds up 500 homers, which is still a big feat for him right now.
Yes, it is.
Right, if he winds up 500 homers, 2 World Series, lifetime batting average 310, is he in that ballpark? At least in the conversation?
He's in the ballpark, but he's riding the pine right now. He ain't on the field.
Correct. I listen, I agree. And for exactly the reason Frankie brings it up. Frankie, you're 100% right. He needs to be, even if his team loses, and there's only so much you could do, he needs to be better. I mean, losing in the World Series last year, he drops a ball in the 5th inning that turns that whole game around. He's not hitting the playoffs at all. All right. He's outshined by Stanton in the playoffs every year. So I agree. He needs to show up in the playoffs, and if his team loses, they lose. I agree with Jeff.
Think of some of the players that we mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay. How they carried their teams.
I agree.
To and through the playoffs.
I agree.
And until he does that, I understand what you're saying. And you know what? I think you're forcing him a little bit. He needs some hardware. He needs a trophy.
I'm with you.
He's for somebody that came into the league with the promise he did. What is he, 33 years old?
Something in that range, 32, 30. But don't forget, he's on his way to probably his 3rd MVP trophy at 33, which means he's still got 2 or 3 years of prime baseball. He could wind up with 4 or 5 MVPs. Now, again,
that's personal.
But to a certain extent, that's all you can do. I think to your point and Frankie's point, he's at least got to stand out in a bunch of playoff rounds. You could say, hey, he took his team there. They weren't good enough as a team, but he was great in the playoffs. He has not been great in any playoffs. He's been average at best.
If he turned around and they made it through 3 rounds of the playoffs and they got knocked out in the ALCS,
right?
Okay, his team as a team batted .218,
right?
3 home runs and 22 RBIs. He himself had 7 home runs, 14 RBIs, and he hit .410. Throughout the 3 rounds of the playoffs. Yeah. Okay, he was showing that he took a step forward.
I agree. Yeah,
but too many times it hasn't worked out that way for him.
No. You again, I agree with both of you guys. He needs to have better showings in the playoffs as an individual. Even if his team loses, there's only, again, Frankie said it, you're right. It's individual sport. It's a team sport played by individuals, but he himself has not delivered in the playoffs. He has not had that big moment to win a series or a game on his own. And that's what's missing. as far as the regular season goes, the last 3 or 4 years, he's easily the best player in baseball. You can have Soto, you can have Lindor, you can have Shohei Ohtani, Bobby Witt Jr. I'll take Aaron Judge. He is a 4.5 tool player. 4.5 tools. But to your point, there's got to be better Octobers.
Let me put it this way. If he had played on any other team, any other team in baseball, including the Mets, the Red Sox, whatever, okay, I could see him being on a Mount Rushmore of his team.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Because the New York Yankees and all of the players that they've had come in and had awesome seasons and the things that they've done, 27 world championships in their history, that's a lot to live up to.
Absolutely, 100%.
And he has to show that he belongs. That's like saying that, I'm a boxer. I knocked out 4 lightweights, and then when I made it to the heavyweight division, that was it.
No, listen, you're right. He's got to have a better October. Let's get my Pops on. It's getting late. Let me get him on there, and then we'll get back to this, unless you got something else. What's up, Pop? What's going on?
What's up, guys? How you doing? I hear what you're saying. It's very hard to pin a championship on one guy. Yep. You don't do one guy.
Nope, of course.
It's impossible with Ruth, because it's so much easy just to pitch around them. That was they were saying last year about the Yankees. You got a good team, but you only got 2 players. Soto and Judge.
Yep.
You pitch around them, they got a garbage team. But the Yankees always had those extra players that you couldn't pitch around Mantle. You couldn't pitch around Skowron. You couldn't do it.
Yep.
And to win the championship. And some of the greatest ball players, that Eddie Matthews, Ernie Banks, never even played in the championship. Never played in the World Series.
Yep.
And you're talking about 2
great ball players. I get it, and I think that here's the problem. So he needs to put his stamp on the postseason, but not once, not twice. He's got to do it consistently for a few years. And Frankie, to your point, you're right. If you put, and Jeff said it, I couldn't put it any better. If Judge is on any other team, regardless of championships, he's on their Mount Rushmore. But because he's a Yankee, it's hard to get up in there. Listen,
think about what you just said.
Yeah.
If he was on, let's say, the Angels.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be batting 390.
You don't know that. I disagree. I think about this now.
Let's say that he has the same stats wherever he goes.
Yeah.
All right. Just for the sake of conversation, whatever team he's on, he's having the same season. Yeah. And it's just because he's on the Yankees and he hasn't won anything, he can't be compared to the greats here.
Well, that's the best point.
That's ever suited up in that uniform.
That's the point. And again, listen, it's hard to break into the Mount Rushmore when it's Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, and probably Joe DiMaggio, and the guy who's out is Yogi Berra. He's got 10 world championships.
So Eddie Ford.
Well, yeah. So I mean, and then you can get into that whether you think Jerry Jeter belongs there or not. 5 championships and one of the best postseason players of all time. So it's hard for Judge. The thing that separates Judge for me right now is that he's doing things every year that the league isn't doing. Team players aren't hitting 300 anymore. He hits 300, and he hits 50 homers a year, which guys just don't do. I mean, people talk about Pete Alonso, and I'm not an Pete Alonso fan, but Alonso hits 40, 50 homers a year. Great. He bats 260. There's a guy in New York who hits 320, 340, hitting 390 right now, who hits 40 and 50 homers every year, has the most in one season, and he's batting well over 300. So that's the part that elevates him. But to both your points, it's hard to break in as a Yankee to that kind of status because you don't have the rings. You don't. To Jeff's point, you don't have the hardware.
You just turned around and said when you started that you would question if Derek Jeter with 5 championships would be on the Mount Rushmore of the Yankees.
Yes, I would question it. Yes.
Just by that line alone, Judge cannot be on them.
Well, no. See, here's the problem with Jeter. Jeter was a really good player during the regular season. He had 3,000 hits. Jeter was one of those players who always came through in the clutch. When it was a big moment, Jerry Jeter came up. Derek Jeter is not the best player I've ever seen. If I was starting a baseball team,
I'm not saying he was the best player that you've ever seen. I'm not saying that at all. Okay, I'm saying that you said that Derek Jeter. I don't know if you would put him on the Mount Rushmore.
No, I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't.
5 world championships. So I mean, how could you put Judge ahead of him? I understand the numbers are there and everything else, but
that's why I can't.
Bernie Williams. Then you got to put Bernie Williams. You got to put.
Again, championships. Here's the thing: it's not about championships for me. It's not about how many championships you won as a player. Okay, it's about how did you play in the big moments? How did you play in October? That's the difference for me. It's not how many. It's not always about the championships. Ken Griffey Jr. never won a championship, but Ken Griffey Jr. right now is the best player I ever saw. You can only do so much. The key for me is when you had a big moment, when your team was in a big spot, did you come up with it? But you only get to come up 4 times in a game. You only get a couple chances in the field.
Look, you bring up Ken Griffey Jr. He played in Seattle for half his career, more than half his career. And then he went and played with the Reds. But with Judge, he's not doing anything in October anyway.
I agree with you, but Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. hit 660-something home runs. Ken Griffey Jr. played on a team that had the most wins. They had the most wins ever in a regular season. I think it was 116 wins, and they got knocked out by the Yankees in the playoffs on the Yankees' run to win the World Series. So I get it. So it's not about the number of championships. Well, again, it helps on the resume, and I'm not.
It's not the only thing to be considered, but it's part of it. It's part of the formula that gets you where you got to be.
But if you go by that,
what I'm saying is, if you're a Judge and you have tremendous seasons, and then you go into the postseason, and Jeff, to your point, there was a good one before. If you go in there and you bat 400, hit 6 homers, and drive in 25 runs, and your team loses, well, you've done everything you can, and you had the big moments. Jeter's on the Mount Rushmore because every time you look around and he needed a big hit or a big play, who was making it? It was Derek Jeter. So to me, while Jeter wasn't the best ball player I ever saw, he could be on the conference. He could be in the conversation for Mount Rushmore.
But you take that, if you go by that, you have to go to out of 13 championships, he won 11. Who's that? Bill Russell. Nobody even come near that.
No, I agree, but
never will. Not at this
will.
Yeah, and I agree. I think championships mean stuff, but championships in sports are team elements. It's about, yes, the regular season, but when you get to those big moments and you're the guy who delivers, or you elevate your game, that's it. And that's the problem. That's what's missing from Judge. He hasn't elevated his game in the big spots, and that's the problem that I have with Judge at this moment. He's got a few years left to change that narrative. And if he does that, if he comes out there with a championship or 2, or has 4, 5, 6 years of great Octobers, then we could say, you know what? He's still not getting into that, but you can have. But right now, Judge is starting to change for me. When people ask me who's the best player you ever saw, I'm always, Griffey Jr., A-Rod, obviously Mattingly in his 6 great years. I saw some great players. Judge is starting to get into that conversation for me because you watch him every day. The guy plays every day. He plays hard. He's a really good outfielder, maybe a great outfielder. He's a great hitter, power, average. He's starting to creep into that, but I need October. I need to see something more in October.
I think championships are won by teams.
I agree.
Other things are won by individuals. Home run championship.
I agree.
Batting averages.
You do want to see him win a World Series and be MVP.
That's the zipper on the bag.
Yeah, that's what he needs.
The bag.
And then to Jeff's point, you could say not only was he great and the best. Again, what do I always say? Were you a top 3 to 5 player in your league for your time? Right now, Judge is 1. Maybe you want to argue Ohtani. People can. I would say Ohtani's 1A. Judge is the best player in baseball for the last 3-4 years. And right now, if he stays healthy, will probably be for the next couple of years. But to Jeff's point, to your point, there's got to be better Octobers to be to the next level. To be in Yankee heaven on that conversation, you need to have better Octobers, and he hasn't had them yet. None.
I just looked up a number now.
I
had it. So for his career,
yep.
And this is another reason why I don't think that I could put him in the Mount Rushmore of the Yankees. Right now, he has 340 home runs and 775 RBIs for his career. He's averaging 34 home runs a year, which is respectable.
Yep.
But only 78 RBIs a year, Tom. He's got to up that also. And I know that that's not going to be easy. And don't get me wrong, I probably couldn't get 7 career RBIs if I went to play baseball. Yeah. 78 isn't that much.
No, I agree. The problem for him is he had that spate 2 or 3 years ago where he would play 30, 40 games and then get hurt.
Yes.
So when you add those averages in, it kills you. And yes, Frank, they do walk him a lot. I would say, what you're going to take is a 10-year average once he gets to that point at the end of his career, and see what that average of his 10 best years are, and then see. But again,
who would you say is the second best player in that and Major League Baseball right now?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say Ohtani. I would say it's Ohtani.
Well, don't go by him because he hasn't been somebody who's been here for a while.
Trout, you have to say it's Trout, even though Trout hasn't been good in a while. The guy's the 3-time MVP. He's a tremendous player when he's healthy, just hasn't been healthy. So I would say, if you were asking me, I would say it's Trout. In the last 10 years, yeah.
Okay. So real quick, just give me a second. I can tell you right now, his career numbers for Trout, bad comparison, 26 home runs, 65 RBIs. But Trout's also missed more games than he probably could have played.
Exactly. That's the problem for that is when you take their averages over those seasons where they played 17 games or 47 games, and then you average that year in, you're obviously going to wipe out your numbers because, they had no numbers those years.
You don't have numbers. It's hard to wipe out something that doesn't exist.
Exactly. That's the point.
Trout, he's played over 100 games once.
I bet you if you took Trout's years where he played at least 130, 140 games, his numbers would rise dramatically. If you took out the years where he was hurt and missed, I guarantee you his numbers, and even Judge's, I bet you Judge's more into 85 and 90 RBIs a year when you take out the injury years.
Trout only broke 100 RBIs 3 times in his career.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. Okay, well, we'll check Judge.
See, Frank, on the Ohtani thing, I think Ohtani's a really good player, and I think that it's overblown on the pitching end. But again, I would put him, number 2 next to Judge for what he does and how he does it. He again, another guy's been injured, missed a lot of time with arm problems. He's great base stealer, great fielder, tremendous hitter. He's still number 2. You can argue that Bobby Witt. Soto's one of the best hitters I've ever seen, but he's not great as a fielder or a runner. He's average. He's a great hitter.
I have to hang on this. I really do. But, when I brought up about Judge, 3 years, he broke 100 RBIs 3 times, 114, 131, and 144, and his career average is still under 80 RBIs this season.
Right.
Those are monster numbers. And as far as walks, he's only been walked more than 100 times 3 times, 127, 131, and 144. He's only been walked 59 times.
How many seasons has he been in the league, Jeff, right now? Judge.
I think since 2016.
Okay, so that's 8-9 years now. How many seasons did he play over 130 games?
Not many. Okay. I'll be honest and tell you that, but I mean, it's still.
I'm saying if you took out
4 times.
Right. So if you took out the other 4 and did the average of those other 4 things, I guarantee you he'd be closer to 85 or 90 RBIs and 40 home runs a year, as opposed to what he.
But we can't do that. You got to give him the numbers. I understand what you're saying.
I agree with you. I'm just saying is if he stayed healthy, if he didn't, kick the wall in Dodger Stadium 2 years ago, and he plays 150 games, his average goes up. If he didn't tear an oblique a few years back, I'm not. That's not to dismiss the fact that he lost the time. That to me that hurts. Same thing for that. I'm just saying is the average to me is hurts because he was out. If you take that and played it to the full season ones, his average and his numbers are much better. But to be a great player, you got to play a lot, and that's the difference.
Yeah, listen, just power wise, if you compared him to Mantle, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Joe DiMaggio, the only one that's behind him is DiMaggio. And
right.
He had power numbers. All the rest of
them.
And DiMaggio lost 2 or 3 years in service. So.
Talking about Babe Ruth, that guy had to be, and I'll argue anybody any day of the year, that guy had to be the greatest ball player that ever put it.
I didn't say he wasn't. I'm saying that Judge don't have the power numbers to meet up with Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, or Mickey Mantle.
I mean, you show me another home run hitter that batted over lifetime batting average of 342.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I'm not saying that he's better than Babe Ruth. He's not.
Yeah, no, I'll say this. I mean, we've done this a couple times on the show. I can make a real good case that Lou Gehrig is the best player that ever played this game.
Sure. I agree.
We can sit here and have that conversation that if Lou Gehrig doesn't get sick and miss probably 2, 3, 4 years at the end of his career where he kind of pads his numbers a little bit, Lou Gehrig may be the best guy who ever stepped foot on a baseball field in his time.
Could be probably.
Yeah,
right.
Again, and see the thing for Ruth was Ruth did it at a time with nobody did it. Nobody was hitting 60 homers by themselves. Teams were hitting 60 homers. So, I'm not knocking Ruth. Plus, he was supposedly a great pitcher. So I'll never knock. But if you really look into the numbers, when Jeff and I have done it a couple times,
what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, he's out of his mind. He's out of his mind.
Dave Kingman.
But did you have anything else on your mind, or you just?
No, that's it. I'm fine.
All
you
right.
guys have a good night. Enjoy yourself.
I'll see you on Sunday for dinner. Yes, sir.
Yeah. See you. Take care, Jeff. Happy Father's Day to you.
Same to you, Mr. Florio.
Thank you. Take care.
Pops. I'll see you on Sunday. That's my dad. I'm going to get to spend Father's Day with him and my sons and my grandson and have some fun this weekend. So I'm looking forward to Father's Day. And hope you guys, everybody out there, has a wonderful Father's Day. To all you dads out there, whether your kids have feet, paws, flippers, or whatever, I hope you guys have a great and wonderful Father's Day this weekend. All right. So again, I think it's just to me, Jeff. I just think that Judge is doing it. It's almost, I know you're going to kill me for this one, but it's almost Ruthian in the sense that in today's day and age, where great hitters are hitting 270 and 280 and 30 homers, here's a guy who's not only hitting 50 some homers and 60 homers on his great years, that he's hitting 350s and 360s. To me, that's a difference. Here's a guy who's doing things that nobody else is doing. Now, again, he's got to get to October and be better.
You can't say that the guy is lacking. The only thing he's lacking is championships and solid Octobers.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. Yep.
Numbers are there. His average, I understand what you're saying. He has several seasons where he didn't even play 100 games.
Yep.
Okay, but just going
by
what's there and what we're working with, that's like saying, well, if we add 20 games to every year, he's going to get another 15 RBIs. Okay, that I understand that, but he did have some monster years, but let's say that they were closer to his average. That brings his number down to even less than 78 or 74, whatever it was. Yeah. If he didn't hit 131, 144, it was 112 or 115 as RBIs. So, I mean, and I understand that, they didn't want to pitch to him, but he only got over 100 walks in the season 3 times so far in his career since 2016. And listen, Is he a good baseball player? Yeah, only a moron would sit here and say no. The guy's an excellent baseball player.
Yep.
Is he the best baseball player of his generation? Very much so. I mean, it would be hard to deny that. Who are you going to, He's also getting a little older, which means that somebody else is going to start stealing his thunder soon.
Yeah.
Is it Ohtani? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it's a clear answer yet. Yeah.
There is a certain criteria that you must hold. Just like real quick, to switch gears on this one real quick and switch sports.
Yeah.
If you were to say who was on the New York Rangers Mount Rushmore, you would have to say Mark Messier, Mike Richter, maybe several different Rangers from that Stanley Cup season, because they haven't done anything else. They only have, 2 other Stanley Cup rings or trophies in their lifetime. So that being said, that's the same thing with Judge. He needs that championship. He has to have it.
No, I agree. Listen, I'm not disagreeing.
It doesn't mean if you were just by regular season stats, it would be hard to maybe keep him off. But overall, he needs it to get on. It's like you punching a ticket. He has this, he's got that, he's got this, he's got the physique of a god. He never won a fucking trophy.
No, I agree. I'll put more, and I'm not disagreeing on the trophy. You do need to put some pelts on the wall. But to me, it's more about October. If he goes out there and he kills it and they lose and he's done everything he can, you can't blame the guy. But
no, it's not.
But
he hasn't even come close to that, though. That's the thing.
That's the problem. Yes, and that is therein lies the problem, is that you can't ever go, well, if the Yankees would have won Game 7 or Game 5 and won that round, he would be the MVP. Yeah, there's never to me there hasn't been that moment for him, and that's kind of the problem for him for whatever reason. I don't know.
Listen, I'll take one. I'll give you one even better. Let's just say that every time that they did make the playoffs or World Series, they went to Game 5 or Game 7, whatever the round was and whatever was going on. And let's say that because of him, he took it to the limit, and they said, well, Aaron Judge, he's played in 38 playoff games, most as a Yankee ever of all time, although I know that's probably Jeter, and it's probably something like in the 70s or maybe the low hundreds, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, I'm just throwing numbers out there for the sake of talking here. That would definitely be an argument, and he was great in every year, leading the league on fire from the middle of September to the end of October when they got thrown out. But it's not always the case with him, man. And it's a shame, because he seems like a likable guy. He definitely is getting the personal part of it down, MVPs and everything else. But he's just gotta win in October,
No, yeah. And again, he's got to play better in October. Besides winning, he's got to play better. It's also one thing if your team goes out there and wins it, and you bat 064 with 1 homer and 2 RBIs. So, that would also not present well for him as well. You can't just disappear and your team and then collect the trophy because 4 of the guys had great series. You're going to get the trophy, and it counts. But when you're having these conversations, it doesn't go your way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So the proof is in the pudding. You can't argue it.
Nope. Again, Hard Rocket Sports. That's Jeff and I'm Tom. We're here every Thursday night, and we do this for the last 10 years, working on got 11th anniversary coming up this July, when we'll do our 11th training camp show. That's the very first show I ever did. 2014 was the NFL training camp show. So that's coming up in the near future. So stand by for more information regarding that show, and love having you guys here. Again, I hope you guys have a great Father's Day this Sunday. The weather's supposed to be, I think, decent for a change, although Saturday I think is crappy. But I hope you guys get together and have and get to spend time with family and enjoy the holiday. Jeff, big news this week. Your boy Aaron Rodgers showed up for mini camp. Yep, showed up for mini camp, ready to go. What's he's wearing number 8, and he's married. A lot of different things for Aaron, and opening week coming up for the Jets. It's less than 3 or 4 months away, and it's Jets Steelers opening the season. What's your thoughts on seeing Aaron Rodgers showing up in the orange and black and all that, the yellow and black? What's your thoughts?
You know what, Tom? I think that this year, this offseason particularly,
yep,
I think he damaged himself more so than ever before with any of the shit that he did. Whether this was planned by both parties.
Oh, it was definitely planned, yes.
He told them, look, I'm 98.375% sure that I'm joining this team, but I'm not doing it to the middle of June. You know, the people don't need to know. He was playing catch with DK Metcalf. The guy is in the league long enough that maybe, you know, at 42 years old, you know, maybe they say like, all right, you're definitely, because, you know, we need to know, we can't, you know, and he'll be like, listen, I told you I'll be there, but this is how I want to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
I got to tell you, I think everybody knew it. I think the NFL knew it, because you're telling me now, I watched football for the last 50 years. I don't ever remember the Jets opening up a season against the Pittsburgh Steelers ever. Okay, it might have happened. We'll have to look it up. You're telling me that just happens that the NFL schedule comes out 2 months ago or a month and a half ago. It's already been made up before that. And the Jets just happened to be playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, the team that their former quarterback who got, you know, unceremoniously dumped just happens to be playing against. I'm not buying into any of that. I think that it was everybody knew. He just didn't want to show up until now. He had a lot of stuff going on. Somebody was sick. He got married. And he just said, if I signed 2 months ago, I'm obligated to be there and it'll be written about. I'm not signing until the mandatory minicamp, and then I'll show up. I think it's all been planned and everybody knew it. It makes no other sense to me.
No, I mean, listen. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. It's quite obvious that somebody in the building knew what was going on. Whether it was scripted, like you just said, is another story. But I mean, come on now. You know,
I mean, you ain't got to be a brain surgeon to see this. Yeah, I mean, the Jets are playing the Steelers on opening night. How many times has that ever happened? Aaron Rodgers just happened. The Steelers don't draft a quarterback, don't go after a free agent quarterback, let two people out of their building, and they didn't know that Aaron Rodgers was going to say yes. I just can't. The Steelers are one of the best run teams in the NFL, if not the best run team in the NFL. They've had 3 coaches in 60 years. Who's done that?
No, not many. None.
I guarantee you, I would love to know how many coaches in 60 years each team has had. I guarantee you, there isn't a team in this league that is under double figures.
Of course, I totally agree with you. Here's the only thing that I could say about all of this. All right. Would you all right, maybe you're a bad one to ask. I'm a bad one to ask because we ended up with the Steeler cast-offs.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Well, Justin Fields was the Jets' evidently first stab at getting a quarterback. If that's the best you can do, this is what you need. In the Giants situation, why not? You know, you have somebody who has a little bit of experience and a rookie quarterback, so maybe it's not a bad idea. He's already proved he ain't going to do much anyway, but okay, let's just leave it as is. They got Russell Wilson, but the Steelers let him go. The Steelers also let Justin Fields go. I think I read someplace where they considered signing Justin Fields again.
Yeah, well, that was their intention, and he signed, I think, the second day of free agency with the Jets. Didn't even give a chance.
That's your intention? You let this guy get to free agency? You know
I think they would have brought him back and all that. Now, I did hear a rumor today. I read it today that supposedly, I don't know if this is true or not, that Aaron Rodgers told the Steelers that if you draft Shedeur Sanders, I'm not coming there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Again, is that true? I have no idea. It sounds like something Rodgers would say, and I don't understand it other than to say he didn't want the controversy of if Sanders had a good training camp, there's an argument over who's going to start, because you can't imagine Aaron Rodgers holding a clipboard in September.
Well, you know what? I don't believe that. And I'll tell you why I don't believe that. Okay.
Yeah.
One, when all of this was going on,
yep,
maybe he said that to them when they thought that Shedeur Sanders was going to be a first-round pick. You know, when everything came out and the draft was on its way, you know, was getting closer and getting closer, Shedeur Sanders was the possible number one pick in the draft.
Sure.
He just started to plummet like an out-of-control elevator.
Yeah.
You know, as we got closer to the draft, well, maybe he'll be there at number 9 for the Saints, or maybe he'll be there at number 21 for the Steelers, or maybe he'll be there in the early second round.
Yep.
I mean, he fell so far down that he could be a first rounder in 2026. He went so far down.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, you're 100% right.
So that being said, you know, okay, so maybe everybody's plans fell through.
Yeah.
And then you don't know. Maybe it's just bullshit that he fucking saying too. Who the fuck knows?
I honestly, truly don't believe that the Steelers would have been dictated by anybody if they loved Shedeur Sanders or anybody else at quarterback, and they said, "Hey, we're going to draft this guy and be there." And Aaron Rodgers said, "Well, if you pick him, I'm out." I don't believe that the Steelers think that much of Aaron Rodgers being that big a difference that they would say, "All right, well, you know, we got you for a year, maybe 2, and I can't see 2 years of Aaron Rodgers playing football at this point," that they would pass up on a prospect or a pick that they thought was going to be their future. So I honestly, truly don't buy that actually happened.
Shedeur Sanders got picked in the 5th round.
Yes.
By the Cleveland fucking Browns after they already picked a quarterback.
Yes.
And he was close, in the 150s, 160s is the pick?
Yeah, something like that.
He was passed over 32 teams, 5 fucking, you know.
Yeah.
Do the math yourself, man. That's a big, big number.
Yep.
Okay. This guy, he could be cut now and not even fucking make a bump on somebody's fucking salary cap.
Very true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's one of the crazy things, but I will go to my grave on this one. And I do believe that this was totally scripted. The Steelers knew Aaron Rodgers was going to come. They knew exactly he didn't want to be tied in with getting married. He's got somebody, I suppose he has somebody with a health issue in his family. He didn't want the constant questions of, well, why isn't Aaron here? How come he's not competing in OTAs? Why isn't Aaron here? He basically said, I'm going to sign with you right before mandatory minicamp. I'll be ready to play. And you're right. He was thrown to DK Metcalf. I'm assuming he had the playbook already. And the only thing he didn't have was a name on a contract.
I honestly and truly don't think that they planned it as heavily as a lot of people think. As far as not showing up for OTAs and everything, he already did it with the Jets, and he didn't get involved in the mini camps early. So for me, this is a guy that should have retired a Green Bay Packer.
I agree.
Let's put it this way.
I agree.
He's somebody that should have been retired as a Green Bay Packer. He's not. And that'll more than likely never happen unless he signs the one-day contract and goes out of Packer. Because he's certainly not going out of Jet.
No.
That we know.
Yep.
But back to with him and everything else that he's done, he ruined wherever he went. He was cut. He basically was cut by the New York Jets.
Yeah, no, you're.
Who didn't care about what money they owed him?
No, I not only did not care about it, they made the guy fly across the country to meet with him for 10 minutes and tell him to take a walk, and then went out and signed Justin Fields. So that's the reputation that he must have had in the building and with the other players. There's no way in the world that Aaron Glenn came in as the head coach and already decided before he walked in the doors that he was done with him, because he must have talked to Garrett Wilson and some of the people in the building and just said, this guy is toxic, and no matter what we got to pay him, we got to get rid of him. It just has to be.
You know what, dude? He was let me try this again. He was with the Lions team for a number of years.
Yep.
So he got to play Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers a couple seasons, twice a year.
Yep.
Okay. And then when he knew that he was getting the Jets job, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that I knew that he was getting the Jets job before he got signed, before it was mentioned that he was going to the Jets.
Right.
But it did feel a little different. And I was hoping that they went and got Aaron Glenn. let's see what he can do. He's did good in Detroit. Let's see what can happen. So maybe he thinking himself too, like, what happens if I go to Jets? I got Aaron Rodgers, but I don't want Aaron Rodgers, and we got to get away from Aaron Rodgers. He's poison. He's a cancer. I don't want that. How could you? You're a coach. I'm hiring you to coach my team, and Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback. Tell me honestly that you look forward to coming to coach that team and having Aaron Rodgers, a 41-year-old man, as your quarterback, 1 year removed from having his Achilles stitched back together, and he's going to be 42 before the season's over. You're going to be excited about that?
No, not at all. Yeah.
I keep saying it, and I will continuously say it. Tom Brady ruined the thought and idea for everybody's mind, thinking that a 45-year-old man could play football in the NFL.
You're right.
He has completely jaded everybody's thought process with that. So Aaron Rodgers, as far as I'm concerned, he's got another 3 years left, maybe 4.
I got to be honest with you. I think he's hoping to go out in a blaze of glory. I think if the Steelers have some success this year, even if they don't win the Super Bowl, which is very unlikely, but if they were to get to the playoffs, he plays well, has a good regular season, I could see him walking away after this year.
He signed a 1 year deal for a reason, I believe.
Right. I think the thought process on his end is, I don't want to go out. Listen, the guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He had first 16, 17 years of his career. It can be argued it's one of the best careers of all time. The guy's the prototype quarterback for this era of football. He's mentioned. He can be mentioned in the Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees company. I mean, he's right there. But his last year or two, or last few years with Green Bay, his time with the Jets, and his off the field stuff has completely screwed up his legacy. And I think for a guy like that, it's super important to him to try to change the narrative to going out with the last thing people remember is a great season, even if it's not great for him personally, but great for the team he's with, and he hasn't had that in a while. Think about it. He was dumped by the Packers, went to the Jets, lost the season, was in the middle of ugliness last year, and then been through this. He wants to go out with at least something respectable.
Well, yeah, of course he wants to end on a positive note. How could you not want to end up on a positive note? And like I just said earlier, this is a man that should be going into Canton as a fucking Green Bay Packer.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt.
I mean, if you would have put the rank the teams in the prestige that they had, of course it would be Green Bay, Steelers, Jets so far. He signed a 1 year deal.
Yeah.
To me, I can't see him signing another one. But the thing that gets me, no matter what we say about Aaron Rodgers, no matter how ugly the season was last year, no matter how bad the injury was, no matter how bad the falling out was in Green Bay, no matter how long he made the Steelers wait, the one thing that keeps popping up to me that will stick in like a thorn in my side for as long as he plays in the NFL was the face that he had on when he pushed Robert Saleh away, when Robert Saleh went over to him to celebrate, whether he was celebrating too much, whatever, say whatever you want. He made a fool of Robert Saleh right then and there, and everybody caught it.
Everybody I think he's the reason Saleh lost his job last year.
I totally agree. He had definitely had something to say with it.
100%.
He had to go from that moment on. That was it. That was it. He ruined lives and careers.
100%.
Okay? I know you weren't a Saleh fan,
no.
And that's fine. You don't have to be.
Yeah.
Okay, but I feel as though that every year Saleh had that team, they got a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. Okay, so after 5 games, you fired a coach after 5 games. You know, 5 games.
I agree. I think Saleh's downfall was not being more forceful with Rodgers and not firing the offensive coordinator who was Rodgers' friend. That's the problem.
That might have been worse because after Rodgers, and once again, that look, when you give that guy that look and you're like, back up, bitch.
Yeah.
Don't fucking touch me. I'm Aaron Rodgers, motherfucker.
No, I agree with you. But that was Saleh's downfall, is that he didn't push back on Aaron Rodgers and say the offense sucks. This guy's, he hired him basically to get Aaron Rodgers, and then got stuck with him, and then lost his job because of Aaron Rodgers.
Of course.
Yep.
Listen, what happens if this year he's back with San Francisco, right?
Yes, back in a defensive coordinator, yeah.
Let's just say that San Francisco gets to the NFC Championship game, has the number 3 defense in the league. They got people shitting themselves before they even fly into fucking San Francisco to play because that defense is so ferocious. He's going to show it, like, you know what? I left here and I came back and I did it again. Okay, you took Aaron Rodgers' side. He's playing in Pittsburgh. You lost. Not me. I didn't lose because look where I am. Look where you are. You're still not in the fucking playoffs. And let me tell you something. I don't give a fuck how good Justin Fields plays. The Jets are not going to the playoffs this year. They are not going.
Well, let me. We'll get more into the Jets in the next few weeks, but I disagree with that. I think the Jets have a real good chance. Now, again, I've said this from the beginning. I like the Jets' moves. I think their draft was good. I think they fixed a lot of the pieces that I have a problem with. I think the Jets have to realize that they're not going to throw the ball 30, 40 times a game. You have a two-headed monster at running back, and you have a really good athlete at quarterback where you can legitimately run the ball 25 to 30 times a game. Now, I think offensively the Jets are average or above average at best. They have a better offensive line. There's a chance the Jets could be better offensively. The problem for the Jets is how good is Aaron Glenn going to make that defense? Because the big problem for the Jets last year was Quinnen Williams disappeared and Sauce Gardner was horrendous. So if the defense is better than it was last year and more like 2 years ago, and the offense takes a step forward, I disagree. The Jets are a playoff team. Super Bowl team, no. A playoff team, absolutely. I think there's a really good chance they can make the playoffs.
I'll tell you why I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, I'm not even going to go through the whole thing, but I'm just going to give you a couple for instances. Okay,
sure.
New England got better. That's one thing.
They did.
Cincinnati is going to play better. They're going to be a better team.
I agree.
Have no choice to. Okay, Denver is going to be better. San Diego is going to be better. Okay, there's really nobody else.
Well, give me the top 7 teams in the AFC because 7 teams make the playoffs. So let's say right now, Kansas City, Buffalo, right?
Ravens.
Okay, there's 3.
Okay, that's 3. What do we need? A 4th for
So give me so right now you've got the Texas. AFC. All right, so there's Texas. So there's your 4 division winners. Okay. Now you got 3 wild cards. Who's making the wild cards?
Denver.
Okay, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, yeah. Well, we didn't say the Bengals?
No, they didn't win the division.
So that gives us 1 wild card.
There's 1 wild card.
San Diego.
Again, I'm not sold on San Diego, but again, there's a chance there for San Diego. Sure.
The Chargers before I would pick up.
Listen, Pittsburgh has a chance to be a playoff team. I mean, listen, they were a playoff team last year without Aaron Rodgers, so there's a chance. And that guy's always
42 years old by the time the playoffs.
Again, I just said I didn't say anything but make the playoffs. I didn't say win Super Bowl.
If you think it's cold in New York, bro,
I get it.
He's going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but there's a guy who played his whole career in Green Bay, and was a first ballot Hall of Famer. So it don't get much colder in Green Bay than it does anywhere.
Buffalo for the AFC East, bro. Yeah, but you know what, Tom? He hasn't been in Green Bay in 3 years.
I'm again, and he wasn't 42 when he was there. So I agree with you. I'm not.
Cold is cold, man.
All I'm saying is I don't think the Jets are that far from being a playoff team. I agree with you on all your other picks. I think I think Cincinnati rebounds. I think the Ravens are still probably the best team in the AFC North. The Texans.
You're telling me the Jets have to win 10, 11 games to get into the playoffs, and I just don't see it.
And again, I think you hit it on the head. I think New England with a better coach and better players. I think New England's going to be a better team. Miami, I'm not sure what Miami's going to be. So I'm not saying the Jets are guaranteed. All I'm saying is I don't think it's a foregone conclusion the Jets are winning 5 games this year. I think the Jets are going to hover somewhere between 8 and 10, maybe if they have a great season, 11. But I think the Jets are somewhere between 8 and 10 wins this year.
I don't think that Justin Fields has won 11 games in his career.
You listen, I'm not disagreeing, but and again, there's a lot of unknowns. I don't know how good a coach. When I watch the Detroit Lions, I say the Detroit Lions, as much as they are a great team because of their coach, I think they're held back because their coach is not a great coach. He's a great motivator. He's a great builder of men. He's a guy you want to run through four walls for, but X's and O's lack a lot. And his style is horrendous. So is Aaron Glenn in that vein? Then I'd say, yeah, it's the same problem that Robert Saleh had. Robert Saleh came from a great system with a really good coach who's a good X's and O's guy, but he was a terrible X's and O guy, terrible, and that's why his teams were bad. But will the Jets fall into that category? The Jets are going to be a great team or not be a great team based on the defense this year. And let me tell you something: the Colts aren't making the playoffs, but Danny Dimes is good. If Danny Dimes plays, you're going to have a good season. Not a great.
They have the number one defense in the league, the Jets.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Then Justin Fields is not going to get it done, man.
No, but again, yes, I agree. If you don't force him to throw the ball 25, 30 times a day, if you run the ball 25, 30 times a game with those two backs and Justin Fields, and you can put up 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, running the ball, eating the clock, and playing great defense, that's the way the Jets have to. I'm not saying that's the way they're going to play. I'm not telling you. I don't think anybody plays that way anymore.
I understand that it's all hypothetical talk and thinking, but I'm just being real. Okay, the Jets until it happens, and until we're at the end of the season, and we're like, okay, game 17 just ended, week 18 just ended, game 17 is done. The Jets, they went 10-7, 11-6, whatever. They made the playoffs. Okay, step 1, make playoffs.
Right.
Okay. Step 2, win a playoff game. It's going to be all baby steps after that because you can't 100%. Even say they're the best team going into the first round of the playoffs.
No, I also think the Jets have a problem is you to me, their big problem is if you do play that way, when you get to the playoffs, and this is the same problem that Lamar Jackson's had for years. You have a great regular season. You run the ball all over everybody. He runs for 1,200 yards a year, and you get to the playoffs, and you're playing great defenses every single week in the playoffs, and they shut it down and they force him to throw the ball, and that's what's going to happen to Justin Fields, and that's the downfall for the Jets. So the Jets are hoping for is we'll find our quarterback in the future who can throw the football, Arch Manning or whoever it is in the next draft or two, and Justin Fields gets them to that next level. But if you get to that next level in the playoffs and you force Justin Fields to win games, that's when the Jets lose.
This is what's going to happen to the Jets next year. This year coming up, okay? They're going to do just good enough to be out of the reach of some of the top quarterbacks in the league.
That's very possible.
Draft. They're going to turn around, try to make a deal with one of the teams that's up high up against them, okay? They're going to mortgage the future, and they're going to get their quarterback. They're finally going to get the quarterback that they want. They're going to get who they want. They're going to bring him into the building, and then they're going to turn around and tell them, well, we ain't going to be able to get you any players because we gave up the next 3 first-rounders and a couple second-rounders. Yeah. So we're picking in the 3rd round for the next God knows how many drafts, and we don't get a first-rounder for, till 2029 and a second-rounder till 2030.
Yeah.
So good luck. And,
I get it. And again, the history sells it the way it sells it, and I'm with you on it. I just think the Jets have the ability to make the playoffs because I think they have the makings of a great defense. I mean, Quincy Williams was great last year. They need Quinn Williams to be better. They need Sauce Gardner to wake up and not look at his game for his own highlight reel. They have some great players on that defense.
Sauce Gardner is a 2-time All-Pro in his 4th season in the league.
Yep.
That kid Sherwood.
Yep.
He's one to keep an eye on. He's one to watch. He did pretty good for himself last year. Yeah. He's going to take C.J. Mosley's spot.
Yeah, and their defensive line with Jermaine Johnson and McDonald, they have the makings of a good defense. I don't like.
They have a lot of pieces on all different levels, man.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
They really do. They should have signed that kid Reed, though.
I did think that was a mistake as well. I think that's salary cap issues, and you can't pay everybody. But yeah, I like the.
Yeah, but there's certain times you just got to figure it out. Bro.
I agree with you. I think GJ Reed was an excellent corner.
That you could get
always had a big play. Always made a big play.
A decent receiver, a decent cornerback, and get a couple years out of them. So you know what? Maybe you fucking sell.
To me, he was better than Sauce Gardner last year. He was head and shoulders over Sauce Gardner last year.
I mean, as long as they keep that fucking kid, the receiver, Garrett Wilson, I like him.
I listen, I do too, and I think he needs a partner. But right now, the problem is keeping him happy this year. If you're the Jets, the last thing I want to see is Justin Fields throwing the ball to anybody 25 and 30 times. He's just not that player. And if you're the Jets, you want to me, their biggest strength might be their offensive line, and definitely their two running backs. I think both of those guys could be starting on any team, and it's tough. The Jets just didn't use them properly last year, and they also didn't have a good offensive line last year. I think it's much better.
Look at like somebody like the Giants, a team like the Giants that haven't been able to find an offensive line year after year after year. Several different coaches, second GM trying to build up the offensive line.
Yep.
So just because you draft high doesn't mean anything.
Nope.
Matter of fact, the guy, I forget his name. I think he was on the Browns. Not Tristan Wirfs. Is it Tristan Wirfs?
Yeah, left tackle. Yeah.
I think he's still a fucking free agent.
Oh, it's very possible. Yeah, I didn't even look.
Yeah, it was either him or the one that went to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
One of those two guys is still a free agent, and I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding! I remember those names being thrown around.
Yeah, sure. Well, that draft had all of them, including Andrew Thomas for the Giants, Mekhi Becton, who now went on to win a Super Bowl as a guard for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I mean,
but now what is he? He's on San Diego, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, he's that's a guy who's going to bounce around the league for a few more years because he's just good enough, but not not good enough. So I mean, but
he's not going to get no long-term deal. But I'll tell you right now, you know what he's going to get, right?
What?
Super Bowl after Super Bowl.
Yeah, he'll wind. Yes, you're absolutely right. He'll wind up as either the starter or the immediate backup to a bunch of teams that are just ready to win big games. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Can't argue with that at all. So again, Hard Rocket Sports, that's Chef. I'm Tom. We're here for another half hour, and we got a few more things to get to before we wrap this up and get on to the rest of our night. You running off? I see you getting the glasses off. That usually means you're running to the bathroom or something.
No, not yet. I mean, that could be any minute. Who knows?
Gotcha. All right, so I do want to touch on a couple other things. Brian Wilson passes away, 82 years old, founding member, and what people consider a genius songwriter for the Beach Boys. I have to be honest with you. I've never been a big fan of the Beach Boys, Jan and Dean, that whole surf rock, whatever you want to call it, the early 60s. It's never been my thing. For me, the Beach Boys is about their Christmas music. The Beach Boys have, Run, Rudolph, and they have 3 or 4 really good Christmas songs. But, people talk about their stuff. It's not for me. I'm not a big fan of that era music. And whether Brian Wilson's a genius or not, I have no idea. But so many people out there today celebrating his life, and you can't knock what the Beach Boys have done. They're still doing it 60 years later. They're still performing. So I don't know if you want to add anything to the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson, Jeff, but
I'm not like you. I'm not a Beach Boys fan at all. Okay. Matter of fact, I would rather shut them off, and I've overcome dislike of the Beatles and Led Zeppelin. But will never overcome the dislike of the fucking Boys. They're just not for me.
Yeah.
But voices, they might have been great and everything else. I don't know. To me, the voice, though, is just those vocals just doesn't do anything for me, man. Not at all.
To me, a lot of this stuff just sounds the same.
Yeah, because those vocals, the background vocals, the lead vocals, it all sounds the same.
Yeah.
And, listen, they made a career of it, and 70 years later, they're still going strong.
Yeah, no, these guys are in their late 70s and 80s, and it is.
I think there's only like one or two left, like of the originals.
Yeah, well, I mean,
others are all gone.
Yeah, Mike Love is still there. I mean, I believe the last time that Brian Wilson performed was solo, and about 3 years ago. I can't think of the last time I read it somewhere where the Beach Boys got together and did. But listen, there's no doubt they glorified a genre of music that was huge. They did movies. All the Frankie Avalon beach movies are all based on that kind of music. It was a genre that's, again, lasted 60 years. You turn on the radio or movies or commercials and you hear nothing but Beach Boys songs playing. So, whether I would consider him a genius, I don't know. It's not my type of me. I don't like that era of music. But again, like I said, if you haven't heard the Beach Boys Christmas music, you're missing out. They took their songs and made Christmas music out of it, and it's fantastic. A lot of that stuff. Are you a fan of that stuff, Jeff, at all, or Run Reindeer?
There's so many other great Christmas songs.
Oh, I get it, but
I never got to the Beach Boys. I can honestly say I'm going to look to double check, but I do not have a single Beach Boys song in my phone.
Yeah, never been my thing.
Wait a minute, lies.
What do you got?
Oh, I have way more than I thought.
Really?
Yeah. I have Don't Worry Baby, Surfing in the USA, Wouldn't It Be Nice?
Wow. And you don't remember downloading that stuff?
Knows, California Girls. I must have downloaded some stuff either drunk or not knew any better.
Could you maybe do you download albums or compilations, or you download individual songs?
Just a couple songs here and there.
Okay, so on the line for some reason.
But in my own defense, my daughter is also on my iTunes account.
Oh,
she might have gotten some of that also.
That would be interesting to see that your daughter was downloading Beach Boy stuff. That's interesting.
I don't think she does that.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. But
you jinxed me. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. So, Hard Rock and Sports, Jeff and Tom. Hey, guys, again, one more time, make sure whether you have children with feet, paws, flippers, feathers, wings of any kind, I want to wish you guys a happy Father's Day. I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy, hopefully, some decent weather, which I don't believe we're going to get on Saturday. Enjoy your family. If you're not enjoying your family, let me know. Get out to Staten Island to the Rock House. See this Saturday night, Light 'Em Up, which is the Van Halen tribute band starring Tony Gunn and Billy Graz. You got to get out and see those guys. What else I got? So, again, we'll talk a little the Mets. Listen, Mets right now playing great baseball. If you're a Met fan, you got to be thrilled and happy. I did hear today, Salicata was going on about how Yankee fans are, they're not being true, that they're upset and they're not being realistic, that they lost Soto to the Mets. Listen, I can't speak for every Yankee fan. I will tell you how I felt. I wanted the Yankees to sign him. I never thought they were going to. If you listen to the show at the end of the baseball season last year, right up to when he signed, I said I believed him. He's going to the Mets. That was my take, because the Mets needed and wanted him, and they were going to not be stopped. So I was dead on that. As a Yankee fan, I said I don't care. I don't care if they sign him. The problem I had was that he couldn't be the only signing. They weren't good enough. So I am thrilled with the Yankees the way the offseason played out. I'd love to have had Soto as a baseball player, but I didn't get Soto. I got Goldschmidt. I got Bellinger. You got Max Fried. Now, had the Yankees signed Soto, there's no Max Fried. Garrett Cole's out. We're relying on Rodon as our best pitcher. This just worked out for both teams. The Yankees have 41 wins. They're comfortably in the lead. The Mets are comfortable. They got the best record in baseball. This has worked out for everybody. And the likelihood is that Juan Soto, will never live up to his contract. It's just impossible. It's not a knock on him. He'll have a Hall of Fame career. The Mets may get a championship or two out of it. There's nothing wrong with it. But he will never live up to that that contract. It's just impossible. So as a Yankee fan, I would love to have watched for the next 5 or 7 or 8 years Judge and Soto in the same lineup. It would have been fun to watch. But I am not upset in the slightest that Juan Soto went to the Mets, and the Yankees got Bellinger, Goldschmidt, and Max Fried out of that non-signing. So to me, it's the best for everybody. I think the Yankees and Mets are on a collision course for the postseason. We may get a Subway Series, Jeff. I think that would be interesting.
It would. We had one once before, not too long ago, and
well, it's been 25. It's been 25 years since the last one.
Yeah,
it's amazing, man. It went so fast. But it's if you're a New York baseball fan, you are happy with the offseason the way it turned out. You're the Mets. You got Juan Soto, right? You got arguably one of the top 3-4 hitters in all of baseball. You're the Yankees. You didn't get Soto, but you didn't get stuck with a 15-year, $760 million contract.
Oh, that alone makes me wonder, like, what is wrong with the person that said, let's offer him 15 years? 15 years. I don't care what anybody says. I think that the Major League Baseball should turn around and put a limit on terms of contracts. I don't think that any contract should be for more than 5 years. You could have first opportunity to sign him after 5 years.
Right.
But it's got to be 5 years because you could decimate a team with the wrong guy. Look at Bobby Bonilla. They're still paying that fucking guy.
Yeah, no, listen, I get a little different situation, but you're right. I don't like any of those contracts. I didn't like Judge getting 8 or 9 years. I agree with you. 5 years to me should almost be, that's the max. But the only problem is the teams are paying it. So if you're Juan Soto and you say, I want 15 years. Okay. Well,
of course, because right away, just like football and people thinking like, okay, we got our quarterback because this guy played 3 college games, played a half in the end of last year in garbage time and threw for 200 yards and a couple touchdowns. And now we got the second best quarterback ever to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay. We all know that it's almost impossible that it works out that way, but okay, this is how it is. And, you ruin everything. You ruin your team. And to me, a salary cap is instituted so that everybody has a chance.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, like, why would you want to? Okay, so this guy may give us a bit of a better chance, but why do you want to have him for 15 years?
Listen, I agree with you. I think it's completely ridiculous. Now, he's not 30. He's not 31 getting these ridiculous contracts. He's 26. So the league, theoretically, you should be able to get 9 good, solid years, maybe 10 out of him before he takes a nosedive. But it's still too long. To me, I agree with you. To me, it's 5 years, and then we'll talk. Because to me, after that, the incentive's gone. Things change. Players change. Teams change. 10 years from now or 6 years from now, the Jets could be a bad team stuck paying a guy, whatever it is, $50, $60 million a year for another 10 years. That's crazy.
Just look at Jacoby Ellsbury, man. Look at Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah.
Look at Dave Winfield, the first one to get a 7-year deal, 10-year deal, whatever.
10-year deal for $10 million, something ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember when that came out, and I was like, holy shit, look at this. And it's just, I mean, come on, man. Those contracts just
the Major League Baseball is littered with guys. I mean, Anthony Rendon for the Angels. I think he's on. I want to say he's played 150 games since he signed his contract, and he's been there for 5 or 6 years. So think about that. Yeah, Jason Bay's another one, man. That's a good one too. Cano going to Seattle from the Yankees. Everybody was on the Yankees. Don't sign. He went there, and he was terrible.
He didn't do anything, right?
Yeah. So to me, the Major League Baseball.
That kid. It was another guy. So was it Soriano? His name was. He played for the Yankees, and then he went someplace else.
Yeah, he went to a couple
teams. Second baseman or something.
Yes, yeah.
He was really good for a couple of years with the Yankees.
Yeah. Yeah, but Frankie, I get it. To me, listen, if he gets you 1 or 2 or 3 championships, you're going to live with the contract, and I get it. But you're saying that now. I guarantee you, 7, 8, 10 years from now, if we're all still talking and the Mets are bad, right? And they're stuck with a guy who barely plays, and I can live it. The Giancarlo Stanton contract. The guy is a tree. Try to watch him. The guy can't score from third on a home run. I mean, just horrendous. And the Yankees are stuck paying him, and they're only paying him $20 million a year. It is a guy who, when the Yankees got him, it had just came off an MVP 59 home run a year. And if I could, I would mail the Yankees a check to get rid of him. That's how bad this guy is. So I'm just telling you, the problem for Soto is he's not a great ball player. He's a great hitter. He's an average other ball player. And 5 years from now, if he's not hitting and you haven't won a championship yet with him, which is probably unlikely, you're going to be complaining. You're stuck with him, just like the Yankees are stuck with Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton's coming back, and guys who are contributing, like Ben Rice, the Yankees got to try to find a spot for a guy who's not going to contribute. So,
you took everything right out of my mouth when I was going to say that, because Frank says, "Is it too long?" Yeah, but so what? So what if he's giving you results?
Right.
But if he's not winning, or they haven't won anything with him by that time period, you're going to be like, what are we doing with this guy? How can we have this guy? What can we do to get rid of him? Or you can get rid of him because he has a no trade clause or whatever it is, like how some of these guys have, and you're paying him so much money a year that nobody wants him.
Yeah, and he's got perks like a private jet for his family to drive around, fly around the country to go to games, suites. So on top of all the money you got to pay him, the other team's got to figure into all of this stuff. So again, I'm not telling you that the Mets shouldn't have made the move. I think that they had no choice. They needed a guy like that. They were going to pay through the nose.
We never said that about the Mets. We're just saying that long contracts in general. We're just saying long contracts in general, 10, 15-year contracts are just insanity, because then you're stuck with a player. What happens if there's been more players that have had bad contracts that you could trace back?
Sure.
And say then guys that signed for 10, 15 years and be like, this guy was worth every penny.
And Frank, Stanton carried the Yankees in October. The rest of the regular season, he didn't play a lot, and he didn't play well. I can give you plenty for instances. I'm not going to. And I don't know what you're saying. So you're saying that the perks that Soto got, if he went to another team, he wouldn't expect to get. That's one of the reasons why he signed with the Mets. So unless he's going to waive that and say, I don't, he has a private jet for his family, not for him. He flies with the team, but his family flies to any away games they want to go to on a private jet supplied by the New York Mets.
You know what, Frank? You're saying
he doesn't have a plane, but his family does. Look it up. It's fact.
You're saying that as long as you have an owner that doesn't care, but you know what? You're right. If the owner doesn't care, that's one thing. You're the fan. You want to see this team win. I know he wants to see the team win too, but for him, it's a business. So he's still going to make money because he has certain players. Are you going to go watch the Mets play if Soto doesn't deliver, but yet they have Soto, so I'm going to watch Soto get up 4 times a game? I mean, is he that important to you and your team if he doesn't do anything in the next 5 to 7 years, and then he has how many more years left?
Yeah.
8, 9 years left on his contract?
Yeah.
That's a long time, bro.
Absolutely. And Frankie, I will tell you as a Yankee fan, I mean, the Yankees are fiscally, they'll go spend money, but the fact that they've had Stanton, which is one of the worst trades that they've ever made, just because it's a logjam, the Yankees have shied away from certain players over the last few years because they don't want to just get rid of Stanton's contract, cut him to bring other players in. So having Stanton, who, again, was a great hitter and an average ball player, kind of like your boy Soto.
How many years does he have left, Stan? Do you know?
I think it's at least 2.
Jesus Christ, that guy's never fucking going anywhere.
Yeah. So to me, if you're the Yankees, Soto is a lot like Stanton. I mean, he's a better hitter, don't get me wrong. But don't forget, Stanton was an MVP and one of the best players in baseball, hitting 50-some homers a year. And then the Yankees got him, and all of a sudden he's everything else is getting in the way. That could be Soto in a few years. Now, again, he's 10 years from that, maybe. Who knows? So,
you know, Frank, you're right. The boss would have never shied away from that.
nope,
That's
absolutely.
why they went how many years without winning a championship or making the playoffs?
Yep.
Because you can't buy that shit, bro.
Yeah, and that was one of the things the Yankees didn't do
You
when
could
they
buy some
were.
players. You could get a player or two, but you can't buy the team to win. That's not going to work.
But
Maybe you already proved that.
what the Yankees changed in the late 90s and the early 2000s was they would bring in the Cecil Fielder or Darryl Strawberry or Wade Boggs, but those guys were playing on 1 or 2 year contracts for, basically, chump change. When you bring in a Stanton and he's got 8 or 9 years left on his $250, $300 million contract, you're stuck with him. That's the problem for the Yankees. So
the only thing you could say about Soto and his contract and other guys, not just Soto, we're just using him because he's a name. But if they sign now and they're signed to big money, by the time they're year 7, 8, their money will still be big, but it's not going to be as big as some of the guys now, what they're getting.
No.
And then if you remember A-Rod too, A-Rod signed that 10-year, $250 million deal.
Twice.
Paid a number of years and then renegotiated and signed it again for 10 years, $250 million.
Correct.
Same 25 million, but they just added more years.
Correct. And
they had like 7 years onto the deal, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And again, I think signing Soto for big money didn't bother me. It was the years that bothered me for a Yankee fan. Like, I'm not going to talk about the Mets. That's that. If you're a Met fan and you're happy that you should, then it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. As a Yankee fan, I did not want to tie up to Juan Soto for 15 years. I don't want to tie to. Like I said, I love Judge. I wasn't crazy. The Yankees had to give him 8 or 9 years. Just, to me, at 31 years old, he's going to be 40 years old when that contract. What's the last 3 years are going to look like? The last 4 years. Now, we may get lucky. Who knows? But so if you're a Met fan and you're happy with it, nothing wrong with it. Juan Soto is a great hitter. Now, to be honest, he's been better for 2 weeks. I think if he has a great rest of the season, he'll be lucky to hit 270, 280. At what point, let's say Juan Soto goes out this year and hits 280, 30 homers, 90 RBIs, and the Mets lose the division series. Are you saying that it's a great start, to his career? Are you happy with his contract? You're not going to be happy. You're going to say, all right, next year's got to be better. The hope is better be, Jeff, that this isn't the best that you're going to get from him.
He got 66 games so far. Okay. He has 14 home runs, 13 home runs, and 35 RBIs. So even if you add even if he ends up with 15 and 40 by the time he gets to the halfway point, you're talking 30 home runs and 80 RBIs. That's not his normal numbers, are they?
I don't think so. No, he should be locking in 35 to 40 homers with to me, hit where he hits 95 to 110 RBIs a year, and he got to walk a lot, and he's not going to get near those unless he has this huge second half of the season.
To be honest with you, his career average, 21 home runs, 63 RBIs. So he ain't that, but his career average is also 283.
Yeah,
and his average is also 283.
Yeah, so Jeff, think about it. You gave a guy the most money for the biggest contract for 21 homers, 80 RBIs, and a 280 batting average.
Oh, I'm not saying that I would want to pay for it, but
and again, I'm not knocking the guy.
A team like the Mets needed to step out of the shadow of the Yankees.
Yes, correct, 100%. Yeah, they needed a star. Yes, agreed.
You have to. That's all there was to it. They 100%. Had to make the splashy sign.
I said it. I agree. I think the Mets more than any team needed Juan Soto, not only just to help them as a player, but to give them the superstar. Pete's a homegrown guy, but most Met fans would have said last year they didn't want him to sign. The Mets did not want to sign him long term after last year, and I'm not sure anybody wants to sign him long term even this year.
Look at the Mets as a franchise for a minute, okay? When you think of some of the people that the Mets have had on that team, who has been their face of their franchise, the superstar of that team? For a while, it was Lee Mazzilli, who never really did much with the Mets. Yeah. He wasn't like I don't even think he averaged 20 home runs. Then you had Darryl Strawberry and Doc Gooden, who were known more for their fucking exploits than their fucking time on the field for the team. They were always getting suspended and getting into issues.
Yep.
They had what was not Ray Knight. Who was that other? Was that the third baseman they had? Ray Knight.
Yeah, for a short time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then not the pitcher.
David Wright is the guy that they had.
Yeah.
David Wright is the guy that they had to. I would say at this point, if you were going to point to the Mount Rushmore of Mets for a career, it would probably be Seaver, obviously, although it's only 10 years, but Seaver, and then probably David Wright. After that, there's a lot of conversation to be had because, the best players after that, or the most beloved players, are Kranepool, who was an average player, Rusty Staub, who was basically known for being a pinch hitter, Carter, Hernandez were not long-term Mets. I guess Piazza's got to go on that list. I mean, he played most of his, probably a good chunk of his career for the Mets. But even him, think about it. How many homegrown Mets have they had that's to finish their career and had great careers? David Wright's about the closest one, and he's not a Hall of Famer.
Some of the best Met players in their prime, Doc Gooden, David Cone, Darryl Strawberry, all ended up on the Yankees.
Yes.
And career with the Yankees, I believe.
And if you want to say that, Gooden had his best season of his career with the Mets. Obviously, that 85 season is one for the ages.
Yes.
But, you can have an argument that Strawberry's best part of his career was with the Dodgers and with the Yankees. He won more World Series with the Yankees, same for Gooden. So, for the Mets, their problem is, and I've had this argument with guys like Roy Jones, when your best homegrown player is David Wright and is a fantastic guy, a good role model, and a good ball player, that's the best guy you got. Pete's probably second at this point.
Yeah.
They were just talking about the other day. The Pete Alonso, I think, is like 8 homers from the Met record, and he's got 250-something homers for his career.
Frank, you're right. It is a team sport, but somebody has to be the best on that
Absolutely,
team.
Yeah. Again,
so regardless of whether there's one person on the field or 50 people on the field, somebody has to be the best.
Yeah, I think, Frankie, that's the point of it is the Yankees have had success, sustained. Look at the Yankees; they haven't had a losing season since I think 1991 or 2. I mean, that's pretty good. They've won 27 championships. Now, if you want to break it down from 1960s on, the Yankees still have 7 or 8 championships. So to me, you do need that great player, and you need that. The problem here it comes down to people who say the Yankees bar their championships. Think about the great Yankee teams were built. The core 4, late 90s, early 2000s. They had good or really good plays they brought in, but they won because of guys like, we got the core 4, Bernie Williams, Ramiro Mendoza. Those Yankee teams were built. And those guys alone, there's 5 guys on those teams that you could have an argument about being in the realm of great Yankees all time. I can't say that about the Mets. That's the problem.
Not only that, but if you remember right, the Yankees also had some good managers in that whole stretch too, with Joe Torre, Joe Girardi. They all won.
Yes.
I believe it was Joe Girardi. All won championships.
Yes.
It was just a team that was in the talk of being in the World Series for how many years? That was a long time that they had that run for.
Absolutely. And Frankie, yes, I agree with you. I'm not saying they didn't bring in veteran guys. I'm saying
not a team that doesn't bring in somebody else, man. Come on.
Correct. But when you talk about those Yankee teams, you had 5 or 6 starting players. Okay, you had a starting pitcher in Ramiro Mendoza who went to the bullpen. You had the best reliever of all time. And then you had Jeter, Posada, Williams. Those guys, to me, is what the Yankees were built. They built from within. Yeah, and then you had guys who like Bellinger's and Andy Fox, and they had guys come up from minors who helped. And yes, you put a couple of guys, but you had 4 guys or 5 guys on that team alone who spent 99. I mean, think about it. Williams, Jeter, Rivera, Posada, all were full-time Yankees. For their career, you can't tell me the same thing for the Mets. That's the problem for the Mets is they never been able to build that long, sustained drive. That's my point.
but not for nothing, for lack of a better term, it seems for the longest time that the Mets just simply had no idea what the fuck they were doing.
Correct. Yes, and I think they finally have it now. It's Stearns and
without a doubt, they're definitely in the right track. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I think what my point is, to have sustained greatness as a team, you need to have that foundation that's going to be with you for 10 years or better. Like the Beatties of the world. Those kind of guys coming up and staying around. Vientoses of the world. Pete Alonso and then you add a few veteran pieces that sustain success, and that's why the Yankees of the last 30 years have been so good. I'm not, I just think that's the way I like to see the team built, because that's what works. So we'll see. Listen, back to Soto, playing much better. He's going to probably meet based on what you said, Jeff, he's going to meet his career numbers. But again, are we really saying that a guy who's basically going to hit 25 to 30 homers if he's lucky, bat 260, 270, if he's lucky 280, with 80 RBIs, has just gotten a 15-year, $700 million deal? Is that where baseball's gotten to?
Well, evidently, Tom, because he got that. That's exactly what has happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if he gets into October and he's great and the Mets win a World Series, who cares what he did in the regular season? So I'll say that much.
Of course.
Yeah.
But in every sport, this is what it's come down to, man.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
They try to buy the core instead of nurturing the core.
That's a great point, and that's the great point. It's harder in other sports. Like football, it's very hard to keep a core more than 4 years, because then you get second contracts. Everybody's got their big money, so it's constantly get in, try to win quick, move out some veterans, keep a couple of key guys, and bring in the next round. It's different in the other sports because of the cap. Baseball has the tax, but no cap. So teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mets, they go over it and they exploit it, and that's why they're so good. But it's those teams need to find that chemistry and build. And I think the Mets are doing a good job, and they're headed toward that. We'll see if they get there. But right now, you can't give me 4 Mets to go on a Mount Rushmore that are legitimately great players who are in the conversation of the Hall of Fame. It just can't do it.
Let me ask you something. All right, because I know that Frank is probably spitting nickels at home when you're saying this stuff,
I'm definitely twisting it because of the Danny Dimes comment before, by the way.
When you talk about, and I just want to clarify this, when you talk about the Mount Rushmore of a team, are you talking about the greatest players for that organization and that team, or are you talking about players that, if you were to say, we're bringing this up the next level, these 4 players are now in talks to be some of the best players in Major League history?
Yeah.
Where you're going with that?
Well, I'm saying is, okay, if you're going to do a Mount Rushmore of Met players, who are they? All right. So now, if you take the Mets Mount Rushmore and you put it up against Cincinnati Reds, the Oakland A's, the Yankees, Chicago White Sox, the Cubs, the Cardinals, the Dodgers, the Mets are not in the top 10 all-time players. So, to me, Mount Rushmore of Mets for their career, David Wright, I guess you got to put Seaver in there, even though he played 10 years for the Mets and then moved on. Piazza, and again, Piazza,
Ron Darling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who you're putting there other than that. Everybody else played a few years and moved on or came from somewhere else. So all I'm saying is, you for sustained success and greatness, it needs to be built from within and then pull in the pieces that you need. And hopefully the Mets are headed that way. I'm just saying is, I'm twisting Frankie's balls because he threw me out the Danny Dimes comment before. That's where I'm headed. But anyway, we've reached the 9:00 hour. We'll hold off the Triumph stuff till next week. I'd like to get off I have a couple things to do, and if Jeff's free, maybe we could squeeze a game in tonight. If not, I don't know what your plans are.
My plans? I don't have any plans really, man. This is my plans. If I don't win, I gloat another week. If I don't play, I gloat another week. And it doesn't really matter to me if I ever play again.
Oh, yes.
I would love nothing more than to go out a fucking winner, man.
That won't happen. But I have to do a couple of things. I will text you in 10 minutes, and I think 99% will jump on and try to play a game tonight so we can have something to talk about next week. But I guess, guys, I hope you can. I love Frankie. Anyway, guys.
You're out in the front of my house in a little cheerleader outfit. I'll take it. Thank you.
There you go. But again, guys, I hope you guys have a great Father's Day. And thank you all for listening. Thanks to Frankie and Matt and everybody else who jumped in tonight and all those people who were online, offline. So thank you all for checking in with us. And we'll wrap it up here. But if you guys got any plans this weekend, I hope you stay safe. Please be careful driving. Frankie, have a nice night, pal. Thanks. Go watch the hockey game. Great series. Same to you, Frankie. Thank you, brother. Great series in the Stanley Cup Finals. Panthers are up 2-1 over the Oilers. Game 3 was craziest game I think I've seen in a long time. More fighting in one game than I think I've ever seen in a Stanley Cup. But if you get a chance, jump on tonight. Game 4 is on now, although I think the Panthers are up 2-0 already. So,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the Oilers. I hate the Panthers, but looks like they're on their way to a second Stanley Cup in a row.
Edmonton has been one of those teams. They've been a pretty good team the last couple of years, haven't they?
Yes, very good team. They've got some talent. They got the best player in hockey in McDavid. But the Panthers are a tough, battle-tested team, and they goad the shit out of you. And they had the – I never seen so many guys ejected from a game since the Flyers of the 70s.
It's like watching the fucking Chiefs with Paul Newman.
Oof! I'm telling you, it was every time the puck dropped, somebody was going at it. Somebody's getting the stick drop. They were running. It was fun hockey to watch. I'm not a Oiler fan. I'm rooting for them in this series, but boy, oh boy, that was the weirdest third period I think I've ever seen. So, I'll get off the air and I'll do a couple things, and hopefully I'll catch the highlights later because I'll be whipping Jeff's ass. But if not, we'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. We really do appreciate it, and we look forward to doing it again next week. So we'll wrap it up here. So let's start by saying thank you to everybody who tuned in. We tell you to have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, a great weekend, and a great next week. And happy Father's Day again to all the dads out there. And Jeff, please wish your dad. I'll reach out to your brother. And of course, happy Father's Day to you. And I will talk to everybody. I'll talk to you off the air.
Thank you, sir, man. I appreciate it. And happy Father's Day to you. And this will be your first one as a grandfather? Or?
Oh, technically, yeah. For Thomas's, Edie's son, I have the 2 granddaughters that I don't get to see very often, but they are out there. But this is the first with the new guy. And I'll get to spend them day eating rice bowls at my mom's house this Sunday. So I'm looking forward to that. Hang out with my dad and my sons and everybody else. Unfortunately, not everybody can be in the same place together, but we'll do the best we can. But in the meantime, it's going to be a nice weekend for that. And hopefully I'll be going to it with a big, giant W for whipping Jeff's skanky ass in Madden in a little bit.
If you think.
In the meantime, guys, enjoy the rest of your night, the rest of your weekend, a great weekend. See you next week. For Jeff Tomlinski, myself, and everybody here at Hard Rock Sports, we say thanks. And please be safe. We'll see you next Thursday night when we do this all over again. Definitely, I'll talk to you off the air. I'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Got it, man.
Later.
Later.
Leave studio.